Skagway would be our second port on the Royal Princess 7-day Alaska cruise. Heading north out of Juneau through the Lynn Canal, we had a relatively short trip and arrived at Skagway in the morning, with many of our fellow cruise ships as well. While our berth would normally be an easy walk from the ship into town, a rock slide onto the dock in 2022 made the dockside exit unsafe. The Celebrity ship tied up behind us allowed passengers to walk through protected walkways to a shuttle that would take them past the danger zone. So, despite being tied up to a dock on our starboard side, we instead were tendered to shore off our port side. This can be a bottleneck for getting ashore, especially in rough weather, which was luckily not the case on our visit. Since we had visited Skagway several times and had no commitments ashore, we took our time getting our tender ticket, but made it to shore with plenty of time to look around the small town. This would be a long day in port, with the last call after 7 p.m. The weather was overcast and chilly, but the rain held off and we had a good time exploring. Skagway was a major departure point for the stampeders headed to the Klondike Goldrush in the late 1800s. Many buildings in town are set aside as part of the Klondike Goldrush National Historic Park, which has a visitor center in town, something we visited on our last trips to town. We're not taking the White Pass Railroad today, but we have ridden it in the past and coming down from Whitehorse to Skagway. So we're in Skagway by ship and we're going to explore the town. After a quick stop at a grocery store, we made our way to something we hadn't seen in our previous visits, the Skagway City Museum. This museum's exhibits displayed an eclectic mix of local memorabilia that gave a sense of the town's history, including a revealing video about Skagway's role in World War II, with thousands of troops arriving unannounced one day and then continuing to pour in to help build the Alaska Highway. This Moorish Queen statue apparently was mail-ordered and stood as advertising for a cigar store. These replicas are reminders of the local predators, with a comparison between grizzly and black bear skulls. And this reminder of the town's rougher past, an antique slot machine. Heading out into the town, other reminders of the Gold Rush heyday included this house of negotiable affection and a national park tour guide braving the cold in not your standard ranger uniform. Even a month before the longest day of the year, the amount of sunlight was increasing fast and the local vegetation was thriving under the longer days, like this mammoth rhubarb. The long lines at Klondike Doughboy drew us in to try some freshly fried dough. It didn't disappoint. We stopped into this northern outpost in the Klondike Goldrush National Historic Park, having visited a southern terminus in Seattle a week earlier. We watched the movie to get a little different perspective on this historic migration north. One of the most popular excursions in town was a trip on the White Pass and Yukon Railroad. The route was carved out of the mountains between Skagway and Whitehorse in the Yukon to offer another alternative route to the Klondike for the Gold Rush stampede. Unfortunately, by the time it was finished, the rush was over. However, it became a vital connection later in the 20th century when the U.S. military commandeered its cars to move men and equipment to the center of the Alaska Highway route, making the logistics of completing this critical artery to Alaska infinitely more manageable. It is now used exclusively for excursions. The cruise passengers travel to the peak on the U.S. side of the border and then return, dropping off the passengers right in the middle of town. It is also still possible to travel between Whitehorse and Skagway, which is how we made the trip to Skagway when we were traveling the Alaska Highway by RV 9 years ago. Our exploring done for the day, we took a tender back to the ship. After supper, 2023 Iditarod champion Ryan Reddington came aboard with 2 of his sled dog puppies, deemed puppies in the piazza. Ryan was definitely upstaged by the little guys. Once the sled dogs departed and the celebrity ship behind us got underway, it was time for us to cast off. But what about those tenders? That means the lifeboats. Well, they had been deployed from our starboard or dock side, so we had to ease off the dock before they could be taken back on board. A little after 9, we were underway again, making our way to the port where no one actually gets off the ship, but it doesn't mean there's not a lot to see. Glacier Bay.